lineups. And because it worked so well for me in my brackets, I decided to go with some upset picks here. I'm being facetious because I did pick a lot of upsets, and yeah, I'm completely out of the running. But we know that you picked James Harden as your point guard. What about you? What about you, DJ? Who's your point guard today?
Well, Alexa, no surprise here. I went with James Harden as well. You know, he is the top guy. He's $12,200 tonight, but he's averaging 65 DraftKings points against New Orleans this year after 3 games. Most importantly, last time out against New Orleans, he put up 83 DraftKings points. You put him into your lineup, and it doesn't really matter who else you have around him. You know, I will say at this time of the year, it is very hard to construct a lineup. Maybe you guys are noticing that. I certainly am. More often than not, I'm actually going to go with the stars and scrubs approach because there's so many value plays to be had out there. But I'm going to kick things off with James Harden and start building from there.
Go, DJ.
All right.
That's my DJ.
I like your picks there for Harden. I certainly looked at that, but I decided to try to spread it a little bit more. In fact, I went with Tyler Ulis as my point guard against Boston on the night. I'm thinking, all right, because of Isaiah Thomas, I know Thomas is going to get a lot of the publicity, but I think Ulis, and we see that all the time, the competitive spirit wants you to elevate your game to the star level. So
sure.
I'm thinking that maybe Ulis, especially at $7,100, I'm hopeful that I can spread that out a little bit later in the lineup. All right.
So what you're saying is we're right and you're wrong. How about
I can't go wrong. I can't go up against James Harden.
Hey, DJ, where'd you go with shooting guard?
With shooting guard, I went with Tim Hardaway Jr. out in Atlanta. They're dealing with multiple injuries. So we know Kent Bazemore is out tonight. Paul Millsap is out tonight. So over the last 2 games with Bazemore out, Hardaway has played 36 and 33 minutes in the 2-game absence of Bazemore. So not only will Hardaway see a lot of time on the floor, but he's going to absorb some of the shot attempts that Millsap had been taking. So at just $6,000 tonight in Milwaukee, I think Hardaway is a very good value option.
All right. Well, speaking of Atlanta, that's where Bradley Beal had, a 52.8-point fantasy night against the Hawks in the last game out. And now they're taking on the Brooklyn Nets. That's why I'm going with Bradley Beal as my shooting guard.
Okay. I went Avery Bradley. I feel like he's had some pretty strong fantasy nights as of late, putting up 33 and 41 in his last 2. So.
Oh. All right. Beal or Bradley?
I got to go with Beal, but you got to be careful on the blowout potential there. So I definitely like Beal a little bit more, but Bradley might end up playing more minutes.
All right. Just get those points before he sits down. Let's hope. As far as the small forward, as we go to the next position here, who do you have, DJ?
Alexa, you're going to like this one too. I'm going with Bojan Bogdanovic.
Oh, I love it.
Former team. Remember, I talked about that added motivation over the course of the season. And when you have revenge games, which are my absolute favorite, I'm always going to target revenge games. So we actually are kind of high. I'm actually hoping for a blowout. I hope the Wizards blow out the Nets tonight, which certainly is possible. And Bogdanovic sees a lot more time on the court. Because I'll be honest with you, his production has wavered since joining the Wizards, but if there's a blowout and he's seeing 25 to 30 minutes, he could be completely worth that price tag of $4,800.
All right. Well, I have Bogdanovic in my second set of
so do I.
lineup. My second small forward. But I'm going with Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
Jimmy Butler as my starter there at $9,200, so he's actually the highest priced player in my lineup.
I went a little cheaper, but I continued to stay with the Wizards, and I went with Otto Porter. And I feel like, if he can get some minutes, which he has been getting increasingly lately, that could help him out.
All right. There seems to be a consistent Washington theme here, right? You and I, it seems like we alternate here. Let's see if DJ gets onto the Washington bandwagon in addition to Bogdanovic. Who do you have right now at power forward?
I'm going to go with Trevor Booker, and we have another revenge game here. Okay. Booker playing for the Brooklyn Nets right now, but he started out his career in Washington, played about 3.5 years there. Over 3 games against his former team, the Wizards, he's averaging 33 DraftKings points so far. At a price tag of $4,800, and he's been about that price all season long. He obviously gets up for that game when he's playing his former organization. So I like him as a value play again. I have a lot of value plays here because it's hard to fit Harden into your lineup and not look for value elsewhere.
I went with Marvin Williams because Cleveland, I know, Cleveland has not been playing defense as of late, and he's been a man possessed, speaking of Marvin Williams. He has consecutive double-doubles, 5th in his last 6 games, so I like that he's getting points and kind of stuffing the stat sheet, so I went with Marvin Williams. Where'd you go?
I looked at that. I actually went with Markieff Morris.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so saying in that same game, there's a lot of Brooklyn and Washington flavor here in my lineup. And that's more of I needed to fill some holes there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like he was at the top of my list, but I did look at Marvin Williams for sure. So I might have to change. I might have to change that. I went from Markieff, by the way, to Marquise here because I also went with Marquise Chris as my center. He's been picking up some minutes and numbers, and I think he has a chance to really put some points on the board there as my center. Who did you go with as far as your center?
I went with Alex Len. I'm sticking with the Maryland ties. Yeah. DJ, where'd you go for your center?
Well, I can't believe it. I'm going to complete the trio here, the Phoenix Suns frontcourt trio, and go with Alan Williams. And so no surprise here while we all are getting a piece of the Suns is because they're going with the youth movement. You know, they've benched all their veterans. Alan Williams is not somebody we've talked about at all this season, right? But it's that time in the season, the last month, where you're seeing these names creep up that you've never seen before, but they're putting up legitimate fantasy stats. So Alan Williams is $5,700 tonight. But last time out against Boston, he put up 37 DraftKings points. Like I said, not many people have heard of Alan Williams, but it's that weird point in the season, and I can't blame any of us for getting a piece of the Phoenix Suns because they're running such a shallow lineup of young guys. I like all 3 of these Suns frontcourt guys we just talked about.
I might actually, based on what you just said there, I might move Chris then over to the power forward and pick up Alan Williams, put him in a center spot. So, yeah, based on what we were just discussing there. See, you helped me out already, DJ. I appreciate it. Well, you always help us out. Let's take a look at your ultimate lineup. Let's see who else is in your lineup for tonight's games. These are your starting 5 players here that we've discussed. Actually, I didn't think. Did we discuss Nowitzki? Did we say Dirk? Is that a late change?
Yeah, I must have had a late change here. So I had Harden, Hardaway, Bogdanovich, Booker, and Williams.
Okay.
And then for my reserves, I ended up with Rajon Rondo, Marquise Chris, just like you, Michael. Mm-hmm. And then finishing things out with Robin Lopez, $4,200. Just good value play. You can get us to that 30-point benchmark that I talk about so often.
Yeah. And because he sat out a game because of his ejection for trying to punch Serge Ibaka, he'll be well rested to put up some big numbers.